Right now, somewhere off the coast of Florida, a sea turtle is gliding through warm water. She's older than your grandmother, maybe older than your grandmother's grandmother. And here's the wild part: 150 years ago, Americans would have looked at her and seen dinner. I'm serious. Turtle meat used to be everywhere. It was on fancy menus, it was in cans on grocery shelves. There was a soup so famous, so beloved, that presidents served it at the White House. And then it just vanished. Gone, almost overnight. So here's the question that doesn't really make sense when you sit with it. Humans have eaten turtles for thousands of years, on every continent, in every culture. It's one of the oldest foods we have. So why did we stop? Why don't we eat turtle meat anymore? The answer is honestly one of the strangest food stories in American history. It involves a soup craze so intense it nearly wiped a species off the map. A clever fake that fooled an entire country. A poison hiding inside the meat that no amount of cooking can kill. And a law that made your grandma's favorite soup basically illegal. But to get why we stopped, you gotta understand how obsessed we used to be. Let's go back, way back. Turtles are one of the oldest things humans have ever eaten. Coastal people were catching them tens of thousands of years ago. Why? Simple. A turtle is basically a walking meal that can't run away. Think about it. Before refrigerators, keeping meat fresh was a nightmare. But a sea turtle? You could flip it on its back, load it onto a ship, and it'd stay alive for weeks. Fresh protein, on demand, in the middle of the ocean. Sailors loved them. Explorers loved them. When European ships started crossing the Atlantic, turtles became the ultimate travel food. Long trips, no fridge, no problem. And one turtle stood above all the rest, the green sea turtle. Its meat was rich. Its fat had this greenish color and a buttery, almost beefy taste. People went crazy for it. And by the 1700s, it wasn't just survival food anymore. It became a luxury. Here's where it gets kind of unbelievable. By the 1800s, turtle soup wasn't just popular. It was a full-blown obsession. In England, in America, everywhere. This was the fancy dish. If you were rich, if you were important, you served turtle soup. It showed up at banquets, at political dinners, at celebrations. And here in the US, it went all the way to the top. Turtle soup was served at the White House. Presidents ate it. It was the caviar of its day. But there was a problem, a big one. Real sea turtles were expensive, like really expensive. They had to be shipped in alive, all the way from the Caribbean. Only the wealthy could afford the real thing. And everyone else, they wanted in, bad. The whole country was hungry for a soup most people couldn't actually get. So somebody came up with a solution, a fake. They called it mock turtle soup. Here's the trick. Instead of turtle, they used a calf's head. Yep, the head of a young cow. When you boil it down long enough, the gelatin and the texture come out kinda close to real turtle meat. Close enough to fool people, cheap enough for regular families. And it worked. Mock turtle soup exploded. It became a staple in American kitchens. Cookbooks were full of recipes. Even the Campbell's Soup Company sold a canned version for decades. Think about how strange that is. The fake became so popular that turtle soup and cow's head soup were basically the same thing in most people's minds. That's how deep the obsession ran. People wanted turtle so badly they were happily eating cow instead, and calling it turtle. But all that demand, the real stuff and the fakes, it was pointing at one animal. And that animal was in serious trouble. Here's the thing about turtles that makes them so easy to wipe out. They live a long, long time, but they grow slow. A green sea turtle might not even be able to have babies until it's 20, 30 years old. Some take even longer. So when you start catching them faster than they can reproduce, the math turns ugly, fast. And that's exactly what happened. All that soup demand meant hunters were pulling turtles out of the ocean by the thousands, then hundreds of thousands. The Caribbean green turtle population, it got hammered. Some spots saw the turtles nearly disappear completely. And it wasn't just sea turtles. Here in America, there's a freshwater turtle called the diamondback terrapin, and its story is almost the same. The diamondback terrapin lived in the salt marshes up and down the East Coast, and in the late 1800s, it became the trendy food. This was the height of fine dining. Terrapin stew, made with cream and sherry, was one of the most expensive dishes in America. Rich people couldn't get enough of it, and so the hunt was on. Terrapins were scooped out of the marshes by the barrel. Prices went sky high. At one point, a dozen top-grade terrapins cost more than most workers made in a week. the population crashed. In some states, an animal that used to be everywhere became almost impossible to find. So now you've got two turtles, one in the ocean, one in the marsh, both getting eaten toward extinction. And that's where the story turns. Because eventually, people noticed the turtles were disappearing, and America started passing laws. This was a whole new idea back then. The country was waking up to something scary. If you eat a wild animal faster than it can reproduce, you can actually run out forever. So protections came in, hunting seasons, limits, bans. And over time, especially with sea turtles, the rules got strict. Then came the big one, the Endangered Species Act, and several sea turtles landed right on that list. That changed everything. Suddenly, catching a sea turtle wasn't just frowned upon, it was a federal crime. You couldn't hunt them. You couldn't sell the meat. You couldn't even have it. The soup that presidents ate? Illegal. The luxury dish of the century? Off the menu. Permanently. And later, an international treaty called CITES basically shut down the global turtle trade, too. The whole worldwide market. Gone. So one big reason we stopped eating turtle is simple. We almost ate them into oblivion. And then we made it illegal to keep going. But honestly, that's only half the story. Because even if turtles came roaring back, even if every law disappeared tomorrow, there's another reason you should think twice before eating one. The meat itself can be dangerous. I'm not being dramatic. Turtles have a nasty habit. They live a long time, right? And over all those years, they soak up whatever's in their environment. Heavy metals, toxins, pollution. It builds up in their bodies, bit by bit, year after year. So an old turtle can be packed with mercury and other stuff you really don't want in your body. But it gets worse. Some sea turtles carry a toxin from the algae and seagrass they eat. And this one's terrifying. It causes something called chelotoxism. Here's the scary part. You can't see it. You can't smell it. And here's the kicker. Cooking doesn't destroy it. Boil it, fry it, roast it, doesn't matter. The poison survives. People have gotten seriously sick from it. Some have died. Whole families from a single meal. So imagine that. You survive the law. You find your turtle. And the meat itself might still be trying to kill you. That's a tough thing to build a food industry around. And there's one more layer. Maybe the biggest one of all. Us. How we changed. See, turtle meat was never popular because it tasted magical. It was popular because it was convenient. It stayed alive on ships. It was fresh protein when nothing else was. But then the modern world showed up. Refrigeration, freezers, trucks and trains hauling meat across the country. Suddenly, you could get fresh beef, chicken, and pork anywhere, anytime, for cheap. The one thing turtles were good for, staying fresh without a fridge, just didn't matter anymore. And chicken? Chicken is a machine. It grows in weeks. Turtles take decades. There's no contest. You can't farm something that takes 30 years to grow up and sell it for cheap. The numbers just don't work. So turtle went from clever survival food to slow, expensive, kinda risky food. And then culture did the rest. New generations grew up with turtles as pets, as cartoon heroes, as cute little things you protect, not eat. The idea of turtle soup started to feel wrong, old-fashioned, a little gross even. The obsession didn't just fade, it flipped completely. So let's pull back and look at the whole thing at once. For thousands of years, we ate turtles because they were easy and they lasted. Then we got obsessed. Turtle soup for presidents, fake soup for everyone else. We loved them so much, we nearly ate them into extinction. So we passed laws, strict ones. We made the whole trade illegal, at home and around the world. Then we found out the meat can be full of toxins that cooking can't even kill. And by then, we didn't even need it. Cheap chicken and beef were everywhere. And our kids grew up seeing turtles as friends, not food. Every single reason to eat turtle just disappeared. And every reason not to piled up on top. That's the strange truth. We didn't stop eating turtles because of one big dramatic thing. We stopped because of a slow pileup. Extinction, then law, then poison, then convenience, then culture, one on top of the other. And here's what gets me. That green sea turtle off the coast of Florida, the one older than your grandmother, 150 years ago, she was soup. Today, she's protected, untouchable. It's a federal crime to lay a finger on her. Same animal, same ocean, completely different world. She's out there right now, gliding through the water, totally unbothered. And she has no idea she used to be the most famous meal in America.